What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another market update video, this time focused on vintage Star Wars mint-on cards. And the price ranges are kind of all over the map for this batch of items. I tried to include some budget-friendly items. I also included some very, very pricey early card backs, some Power of the Force, Empire Strikes Back. So I spanned the gamut from not only the range in terms of the toy lines, in terms of when they were released and things like that, but also price points, because I do think it's important in the current market environment to take a look at all kinds of different price points. Everyone's got a different budget, and hopefully there's something in here that fits your budget so you can get a better idea of what's out there on eBay. As always, thanks to my Patreon supporters. Patreon.com/actionfiguregrader is where you can go to sign up to get 24 hours early access. All right, we're going to start off with a heater. This is a 12-back B Darth Vader AFA 80 made in Taiwan, unpunched. It does have a price sticker or two on the left-hand side there, Ann and Hope. That sounds like a bath salts store. It doesn't sound like a Star Wars toy store, but Ann and Hope had a $1.99 12-back Vader. And that was a good investment, because this one is an AFA 80 with an archival case, card 75, blister 80, figure 85, crystal clear blister, made in Taiwan. Look how beautiful the condition is on that one. Absolutely stunning. And that one sold for $2,250. So big, big money. This seller, two dips for me for SWX. Always has really nice items. I see that seller quite a bit. I don't think I've ever bought from that seller before, but I mean, it seems like every week he's got something else that's just incredible to be listed. And he did sell that 12-back B Vader for $22.50 plus shipping. Here was a beautiful 20-back Death Star droid offer. Excuse me, this is not the offer list. I do have an offer list 21-back in a second, but this one had the Boba Fett offer on the lower right-hand corner. The card looked to be in really fantastic condition overall. Probably an 80 grade. One little kind of minor crease there by the hang tab, but that is a stunner. Fantastic condition overall. And that one sold in an auction for $612. That was a really good buy, in my opinion, for a beautiful Death Star droid. Let me see what the card back looks like. I think this one is the 20-back G, but don't quote me on that. It's got that Boba Fett sticker over top of the rocket firing mechanism that they covered up with this circled edges, and I believe that is the G back. Don't quote me though. I can't keep them all straight, but this is one I do have in my collection, I think. And that was a stunner. Really good price on that one, $612. Here is that 21 back that was labeled as superb condition, and I would have to agree with that. This one was really, really great shape. It did have some edge wear, as you can see on the right-hand side, but this one is the 21 back. I think this one is the A back. I'm not positive though. Blister looked crystal clear and in great shape. Really, really nice condition for both of these Death Star droids. And this one was over in the UK. It was listed for £995, which is $1,280 US. The best offer that was accepted was £895, which equates to about $1,125 US. So again, for an offer list 21 back in that kind of shape, that's probably about right. I mean, you know, you could argue that in an auction that maybe this goes for less because it is ungraded, so you are taking a little bit of a grading risk there, if that's something you're into. But that's a really, really nice condition 21-back Death Star droid for about $1,125 US. Next up was an unpunched Ben Kenobi on a 20-back. This one has the Boba Fett offer, unpunched, gorgeous shape overall. Maybe a little card curl in the upper right-hand corner, but give me a break. One little ding on the blister, upper right, but beautiful condition. Looks like the white-haired Kenobi there. And here's the back. Same card back as that 20-back Death Star droid with the curved sticker on the Boba Fett, fearsome interplanetary bounty hunter. He's interplanetary. It's not one planet. It's multiple planets. He's interplanetary. But that's a really nice condition, Obi-Wan Kenobi. That one sold for $710. I thought that was a great price. That's a price I would have been willing to pay all day long. Next up was a Snaggletooth, same seller, 21 back. This one did have a ding on the top of the blister. As you can see, pretty pronounced ding there. It's probably a 75 grade just because of that ding. It's unfortunate because the card itself was in fantastic shape, just minor scratches, but unpunched and in fantastic shape overall. $455 for that one. So that's probably about right, just given that massive bubble ding. You could argue that, you know, if this one didn't have the ding, it would easily score an 80 or above, 80 plus, grade and would be worth every penny of double that price. So $455 took that home. Very fair price. Next up was an AFA 80 Sand People or Tuscan Raider. This was a punched example, 21 back B. And here's the label on it, 75. I feel like AFA nowadays, they just automatically default for a 75 for all of these early card backs. It's like their default score. It's like, 75. And then they'll give you an 85 or an 80 for the blister and the figure, but it's like every single card. Now, I understand why. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, that's a 75. I mean, let's be real here. That's, you got that, if anything, anytime you got that kind of creasing and litho tear there, they're automatically going to give you a 75. I would argue that CAS would probably grade this as an 80 for the card. Maybe I'm just being obnoxious, but it's a little nitpicky. Okay, this item's from 1979, so 75 is a little harsh, but probably right. I mean, I'm begrudgingly agreeing with AFA. It was listed for $899. The best offer that was accepted was $830 on that one, but that's a stunner. And I think that's a price I'd be willing to pay as well. This 21 back Chewbacca was in rough shape. You can see the blister on this one. It looks like it was kept in like a 115-degree attic, so the blister decided to melt. This is like the Wicked Witch of the East. And I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm melting. So this Chewbacca has definitely seen better days with that blister. It's a shame, too, because the card back in general is in pretty decent shape. It did have some kind of sticker residue from the sticker there. A little bit of hang tab damage, but, because of that blister, this is probably a 60 grade at best. But it's kind of interesting. You hardly ever see blisters that kind of melt like that. But that was very clearly kept in a hot attic. That one sold for $207.50. So, again, this is a good budget option. If you want an early Chewbacca, this is a transition card. This is the ESB card with the free secret Star Wars action figure, obviously, for the mail-away boss. So only the first 21 figures were on this card, to my knowledge. And, to me, $207.50 for an early ESB card bag. It's not bad if you can live with that bubble damage. Next up was an AFA 80 31 back A Luke Skywalker. It did have a pretty pronounced Toys R Us price sticker, unfortunately. It was punched with a little creasing by the hang tab there. Card got an 80, blister 85, figure 85. Now, look at that little crease there. It's not big, but I feel like AFA, whoever graded this one a little bit looser than they did the whatever it was, the Death Star droid or whatever we were talking, the Obi-Wan, I can't remember now. There was a pretty pronounced blister ding at the top there. It might not be a blister ding. It might just be the angle. It looks okay. But that's another early ESB card back for one of the main characters, and Luke Skywalker X-Wing on a clear blister ESB card, AFA 80 archival case for $610. That's a pretty fair price in my mind. Archival case too. 80, 85, 85. Yeah, so that top of that blister must be okay. That's a better angle there. I think it was just that close-up angle looked like it was kind of dented in on the top, but that is a stunner. Really good price, I think, too. That's a price I'd pay all day long. Next up, here's a good budget item. This one looks like it might have just a faint yellowing to the blister, but this is the Bespin Security Guard on the 32 back, which I believe is the debut card. Don't quote me on that one. Unpunched, or partially unpunched, and it's got a price sticker. Children's Palace. Children's Palace, I did have one of those growing up. I guess it's a clear blister. It's advertised as a clear blister. It looks a little faint yellow to me, but it might just be the background there. But again, $128.50. $128.50 for that, I think, is a great price. Now, again, it's a character that most people don't care about, but, pretty nice-looking example. No gold trim, really. Look at that. Now, it's either degraded inside the blister, or the gold was never applied on that figure, which is very possible. It does happen. But that's a nice-looking example, though, for $128.50. Next up, the debut card for Dengar. And unfortunately, it did have some yellowing on the blister there. 80, 85, 80, though, for the subscores. Overall 80, 41 back A is the debut card for Dengar. And that's a nice example. That's one you don't see pop up often for sale. Free survival kit offer. It was punched. It did have some kind of litho wear around the ages 4 and up. Looks like sticker residue there. But nice example, though. Pretty nice example for Dengar. That one sold in Australia for $333. I mean, I know it's I know it's a yellow blister, but to me, That's a pretty good buy because Dengar's tough to find in any, in a really good shape like this. I heard that Dengar, because it's got such a big blister, because of the size of his backpack, and because it was a peg warmer back in the day, back in the 80s, that these got really beat up, right? Because the blisters were so big, and because it sat on the shelf for the most part, nobody wanted poor Dengar. Poor Dengar was just left on the shelves, and so as a result, it's hard to find one in high grade. So anyway, $333 though. I mean, again, if you can live with a yellow blister, that's a pretty good buy. Next up, IG88 on the 41 back survival kit offer. It did have a little bit of wear, but not much. It had a crease right there in the lower right, and around the hang tab, there's some bubbling there. Blister looked really good though, crystal clear. I don't know why. Oh, there it is. I don't know why it sold for $260. Well, that's because the pop was cut out. So, as you can tell, I do a lot of research on these before I decide to start talking about them. I didn't look at this back photo, unfortunately, but yeah, the pop was cut out on that. So, a little crease there around the hang tab, but still, I mean, this is another good budget-friendly item. IG88 on an ESB card clear blister is insanely expensive. I mean, it's, if it's in good shape, it didn't have a pop cut out. So that, again, if you got a tighter budget, look at something like this, put it in an Ian's display case, acrylic case, sliding case, and then put it on your shelf, but facing it forward so people can't see the back. And that's a really nice looking display piece. Not gradable, in my opinion. I wouldn't grade something like that, but to me, that's a really, really nice looking example from the front. And $260 is probably fair. I mean, if this was an AFA 80 41 back, this would I would say roughly $750 to $800 minimum. You might even see it go for $1,000. I mean, I don't know. IG88 has its devout followers. There is a cult of IG88 fans that's willing to pay up for it in a clear blister ESB card, and they go for a lot of money, even in the down market. Next up, this was a good deal. I thought this was a Palitoy Cloud Car Pilot clear blister. It did have a little bit of waviness to the top of the blister. Where's that one angle? There's one angle that showed it. It doesn't look bad there. It's okay. It's not bad. That's a pretty nice looking Palitoy. I mean, it's got some scratches at the top there. You can see a little crease by the hang tab, but partially unpunched. That's a pretty nice looking example. Probably a 75 overall, but $385 for that. That's a great buy. Great buy, whoever got that one. I would have paid that all day long. I mean, AFA 80s, I see them sell on Facebook and like some of the Palitoy exclusive groups. I mean, it could be $1,000, $1,500 sometimes. But I thought that was a really good buy. $385 for that one. Beautiful example. $385 in an auction. That's a really good buy. Next up was the 47 back free 4-LOM offer Imperial Stormtrooper unpunched. It was yellowed, unfortunately, so that probably kept the price down a little bit. But this is another character on the ESB card that everybody wants because it's such an epic card back. Man, look at that card back. That is awesome. Awesome looking card. And the red from the name pill really pops with the free 4-LOM offer. It's a shame that it had a yellow blister, but even then, it still went for $457. So that just shows you there's demand for something like that. But that's a beautiful looking card. Again, if you can live with the yellowing blister, you probably got that for about 60% of what it would go for minimum if it was a clear blister. But that's a really nice looking example. Next up is an always hard to find 4-LOM on the ESB card. We always call this one like the poor man's debut card. There apparently is a 48 back offerless 48A that's very tough to find. There's like less than 5 known to exist apparently. But the poor man's debut card is this one, which is the 48B or C. It looks like the B. That sticker place, the B was printed on the free Revenge of the Jedi Akbar offer was printed on the card back, I believe. Or maybe I got it backwards. Maybe it's printed on the C, but it's that actual sticker on the B. I think that's right. So I can't keep all this stuff straight, guys. So I'm pretty sure that this one would be the 48 back C, because that sticker placement is too perfect. So it's probably printed on the card, whereas the 48B, sometimes you see the sticker randomly on the character's face on the card back. But this was a UKG 75 unpunched 48 back. UKG didn't label it as the B or the C, but I'm guessing that's the C. Now, it was labeled as a clear blister, but very clearly it's starting to yellow, so keep that in mind. But it was unpunched, so really nice example. That one sold for $894 US, which is 695 pounds. Probably, in my personal opinion, probably a little bit of an overpay, but admittedly, 4-LOM on that card back is always pretty pricey. But I would just argue that because it is yellowing there, that's yellowing. I mean, come on. That's clearly yellowed since grading, or UKG did not pick it up and forgot to put the yellowing on there. So, I mean, it's still really nice. So don't get me wrong. That's a tough to find card back. But $8.94, I probably wouldn't pay that personally, but, what do I know? Next up is a 41 back E. 41 back E Imperial Commander 75 grade. I think I had this one in my what to buy, and I think I said this is a good item because it'll probably stay under $300. It's a clear blister, 75, 80, 75. I don't know why he got the 75 grade. Well, there you go. You can see some modeling on his face. This poor Imperial Commander's got a virus. He looks sick. You can see the modeling going on his cheeks there. So that figure is definitely degrading inside the blister. But still, it's a clear blister, so that presents pretty nice. And it did stay under $300, as I predicted. It sold for $285 plus $12.45 shipping. So I think that's a good buy. That's a really good buy. It was punched. It had some wear and tear to the edge wear, but that's a pretty good example, though, for $285. Next up was an X-Wing die cast. This was mint on card and pretty, not great shape. It had a lot of edge wear and a big crease right here. Why is it with the die-cast mint-on cards, especially like the Slave one, there's always a gigantic crease going through the halfway through the card? I don't know if like the stores would like fold it in, or maybe people would fold it in, put it in like some kind of stocking. I don't know, but I see that a lot with a mint-on card die-cast where there's a big crease going all the way across the card. But it presents pretty nice. So this is another good example of I wouldn't grade this. I would just put it in a sliding case, and you got yourself a beautiful, looks clear blister die cast for $202.50. I mean, that's a good buy. Empire Strikes Back. That's a really good buy, I think. Very fair price. And yeah, I mean, I think that's a clear blister. Maybe it might be slightly yellowing. Hard to tell. It might just be shadows there. But that's another good, slap it in an acrylic case and you got an awesome display. Next up was a Darth Vader. This one had some pretty heavy creasing, but it looks like the blister was in pretty good shape overall. I can't tell if that's yellowed or not there. Look, just slight yellowing maybe, but pretty good looking card there. This is the, let's see, this one is the 65 back A Darth Vader, and we always know how expensive they are in high grade. I mean, even a high grade with a yellow blister, you might see $600, $700 sometimes nowadays. That one sold for $203.50. So again, this is another good display item, not non-gradable. Next up, I do have some Power of the Force. There were a number of those that sold. First is the A-Wing palette, heavy sticker residue in the upper right. Somebody removed a sticker. Unpunched, but heavy yellowing, and probably pretty good. 75, maybe 75. I don't know. And that one sold for $450 on 21 bids. And then this one was an AFA 80 unpunched yellowed blister, of course. 80, 85, 85 were the sub scores on that one. That's a beauty right there. Really nice shape. That one sold for $800. So look at the price difference. It's just amazing, the price difference when it all comes down to grading and it comes down to litho tears. But $450, that closed on July 30th, and then this one closed right around the same time. That was an AFA 80 for $800. So two examples there, and then I got a few examples of the EV99 mint on card on the Power of the Force card. This was a beautiful example. Fairly light yellowing to the blister there. It was punched, but the card looked to be in really great shape. I mean, that was a beauty. That was a real nice one. That one sold in an auction for $478. I mean, oftentimes you'll see a loose ungraded EV99 with no brakes on the arms go for what, like $350 to $400? So to get that mint on card for $478 plus shipping is a good deal. Here was another one that sold for $499, right around the same time frame. This one maybe has about the same, I guess it's about the same yellowing, but you can see the big, I think whoever bought this one didn't see that crease on right to the right of the blister there. There's a pretty pronounced crease there. And it goes all the way up too. I mean, if you look at from the hang tab all the way down, there's that big crease. That one sold for $500. So I think this was a better buy, much better buy in an auction for $478. The card's in much better shape. And then here was another one. This one was down in Australia. This was a stunner. I can't tell if this is a clear blister or not. It looks clear to me, but there could be some very, very faint yellowing. But this card is beautiful. Look how beautiful that blister is on that one. It was a punched example, but that one sold down in Australia for $683. So that gives you 3 data points for the EV99. ranging from, you know, pretty rough shape, which is what this one was, for 500. That was an overpay. This one was a good buy at 478, and I think this one was a pretty decent buy too at 683, just because the blister on this one, it looks clear. I mean, you know, don't quote me on that, but here's a close-up. It looks like it's maybe got faint, yeah, it's got faint yellowing to the blister. You can see also the rear tray, the inner tray has also got some yellowing, but still, that's a nice looking example. Now, I don't know if it's worth 683 relative to this one that sold for 478. It seems like of the three, this one's probably the best buy. But this one probably presents the best if you're looking at it head on. I mean, that blister looks a lot clearer to me. But anyway, just some more data for those of you out there looking. I appreciate everyone who watches the channel. If you're new to the channel and you like these price guides, please consider subscribing. Thanks again, and I'll be back soon.